Well, now that I have welcomed you all informally, I would like to invite a gentleman on stage to welcome everyone in the audience formally. A quick brief about him. Well, he's known as the India's media mogul, a serial entrepreneur, a journalist, an eternal optimist, all rolled into one. He's a first-generation entrepreneur, and after acquiring the iconic business media magazine, Businessworld, he has expanded Businessworld Media into digital events and Businessworld communities. Please, with your applause, I welcome on stage Dr. Annurag Batra.
Thank you so much, Lippy, for hosting us today. We wish you luck in being the host. It's my honor and privilege to welcome all of you to this physical event. One of the charms of doing events is to be able to put a face to a name, to be able to have a conversation. And while virtual was the way in the last 2 years, I think for Realty Plus, the last 2 years were very active. It stayed very active, thanks to involvement of the stakeholders, but it was mostly virtual. This is our first physical event in a while, and I'd like to compliment Tripti and Sapna and the entire Realty Plus team for putting this together. And I'm happy always to be back in Ahmedabad. Of course, I did what I do as soon as I land in Ahmedabad. I go to Agashe and eat. I ate my lunch and then came here. But on a serious note, I'm here because the real estate sector is a very important sector. We are talking of a post-pandemic recovery, where in the last 3 months, with what happened with the oil, what's happened with the war, what's happening on the markets has also, in some way, reset our expectations from where the economy is. But if you look at one sector of the economy which has bounced back most, in almost all sectors, sub-sectors of its domain, is the real estate. If you look at retail, you go to retail malls, and while the online shopping is growing and B2C brands are growing, malls are buzzing, There's no space in restaurants. You have to book in advance, and I have some experience last week of that. Of course, warehousing did very well in the last 2 years. It continues to do well. A lot of people had written the obituary of office spaces. Clearly, they were too fast to write that obituary. Office spaces are being remodeled. We know that productivity when you're in an office space is high. Of course, a lot of offices have adopted a hybrid approach, but the office spaces are again back in vogue, so to say. And most importantly, one sector that continued to do well in the COVID was the residential sector. People spent much more time in their homes than they ever did. So they also saved much more money than they ever did. Between these two things, the residential demand in the last 2 years has become real, actual buyers. The point I'm trying to make is that the real estate sector is looking even more buoyant than ever, and all of you have a first-hand idea of the numbers of what's happening. I'm just saying this to set a context, and I must tell you that while Lippy said it is the 14th year of the event, which it is the 18th year. In 2 months, Realty Plus will be 18 years, because I remember this, as I keep saying, because the day we launched Realty Plus, my daughter was born, and I remember she was born, and I went for the launch. And the then Chief Minister of Delhi, Sheila Dikshit ji, did the launch, and I still have to answer questions on where did I disappear for 2 hours. So it will complete 18 years in 2 months. 27th August 2022, Realty Plus will be 18 years. I don't want to stand between you and the leaders of the real estate who are here to share their views on what's happening. I just want to say, post-pandemic, while we'll talk about real estate, and I just took the agenda from Tripti, I think the real estate sector has got itself reset. Most of the developers in the last 2 years that have remained afloat have made sure they're recapitalized, their debts are lower, and they're a little more cautious about the projects. They're not just taking on every project. I do talk to very large fund managers, some friends from my business school who run large real estate funds, possibly the largest. And one of the biggest trends is, and I was talking to Mr. Mohanty, the next issue of Businessworld is about how homegrown capital is coming into Indian companies. And it's not just about real estate. I mean, we heard of Tiger and Sequoia and Excel and all those large funds. But TVS Capital raised 2,000 crores. There is a Bloom Ventures, there's a Chirate, there is Ivy Cap, and you know, I can go on. I mean, I wouldn't want to talk about True North because it's existed for more than 20 years. They've changed their business model, but here is also homegrown capital. But there's a long way for the homegrown capital to participate in Indian entrepreneur story. Right now, more than 90% of the capital deployed in venture capital and private equity is not Indian. It is less than 10%. It is between 5 and 10% depending on how you calculate it. It used to be 1% maybe 7 years back. So clearly it's grown to 8, 9%, which is a tremendous jump. In real estate also, more and more Indian capital will come, as is happening in every sector. And Indians do value real estate as much or more than other asset classes, so to say. And again, the stock markets, maybe in the next 2 quarters, it may bounce back. Maybe 3 quarters, maybe 4, but definitely not 2. I mean, the LIC IPO did okay, but the expectations were that it would do much better. So clearly, the point I'm trying to make is that as Indian capital comes into homegrown platforms, one of the biggest beneficiary will be real estate sector, because real estate in every segment and sub-segment is growing. So I just want to say that it's a great time. Developers who have survived and thrived in the last 2 years are likely to build companies that will hopefully become institutions and outlast them. The last 2 years did test every skill that an individual entrepreneur had. Well, ultimately it was about the blessings of God. While we can give logical reasons to everything, I don't think it is logic. It is the grace of God that gets us to do what we do. So I don't want to stay between you. See my friend Mr. Goenka here after a long time. I see him on Facebook. He's my Facebook connect. Every day posting something or the other. So I will go back and I'll listen to you. I don't even have my phone. I left it in the room so that I could get some gyan on real estate. And I did start my career from the real estate sector in the services space. So I have always a keen interest in real estate. And I must tell you, about 40 days back, a friend of mine who's a very small sized developer used to do affordable housing. Not that the affordable housing players are small by any standards, and some of them are doing really, really well. And I was talking to my friend Vipul Rungta at HDFC, and he was telling me about 2 particular players and how well they're doing, and because he lent to them, so he was very excited about their performance and how he was helping them to get them into new cities. But there's an individual who's a small player, relative, and he came to me 40 days back with 2, 3 proposals. And I looked at the returns, and I love what I do. I mean, at the end of the day, money has no value. It has value to be able to create time for you, to be able to get you to your dreams. But really, work-wise, if you enjoy what you do, you know, that's the best thing. I love what I do. I don't think I want to do anything else. But I looked at the returns, and I looked at the 2 propositions I was telling Mr. Monty, and I said, man, maybe I should get into real estate. I think I will be able to raise capital. And for the last 2 years, I've been toying with doing a private equity fund for investing into startups. I do fair bit of angel investing. So I looked at the returns in these 2 particular propositions, and I said, what I make in 3, 4 years, you make in 1 year here. And this is almost risk-proof. And I was telling Mr. Monty about it, and I said, I will bring the 2 opportunities to you. But the point is, real estate is booming, and it will continue to boom, and the last 2 years have in some way separated the boys from the men. With this, I welcome you to this 14th edition of Reality Plus Conclave. In the evening, we have awards, RR awards. All our awards are done through a jury process. I don't even know who the awardees are. Tripti and Sapna know. So look forward to interacting with you. Wish you well in what you're doing. And I'm sure the next 2, 3 years will be years of spectacular growth in the real estate sector, and I don't use adjectives like spectacular very often, but with whatever I see, the course correction, the change in strategy, going back to fundamentals, and even in the last 4 months, even in the startup space, sustainability has become important. Valuations have become more palatable. There is some semblance of going back to basics. I think real estate sector is possibly one of the safest and the fastest growing sectors post-pandemic, and in some way will lead the growth back for the Indian economy. Thank you. God bless you.